Quiet Place stars Emily Blunt, John Krasinski, and is directed by John Krasinski. A Quiet Place is kind of a new novelty film. I guess, for lack of a better term, I guess you could call them novelty films. Movies like Don't Breathe, I guess, where you have blindness being a factor in the movie. Well, this one is really about sound or lack thereof. In order for these people to survive, then they have to be quiet. Now guys, after the rating, I want to talk some spoilers because there are some really interesting elements to this movie, especially the creature. So after the rating, we will be talking some spoilers. A Quiet Place is a movie that was probably like number 3 on my radar for the year. One of the movies that I've been wanting to see for quite a while now. And let me just say, this movie, guys, was fantastic. Exceeded my expectations. And I knew that when you're dealing with a movie where nobody can talk for most of the movie, you have the opportunity there to do some pretty special things, and they really do. First off, let's get into the plot. Now, this is an environment where there has been some sort of attack. It's one of those movies where they don't give you too much information. They give you just enough. But you know that there has been some sort of attack. There are these creatures. And so because these creatures can't see, they live off of sound. So everybody on the planet pretty much has to be completely silent in order to survive. And this movie focuses on this one family, the Abbotts. But quickly we realize that you know, there are other families out there. This one just focuses on this particular family. And at the beginning of the movie, it stresses that this is day 89 since the event happened, and something terrible happens. And so then we fast forward to a year later. And so this family is picking up the pieces after this event. Meanwhile, they're still having to be completely silent. That's the first thing I want to talk about. This movie, there is very little dialogue throughout the whole thing. And I'd say you have to see this movie in a theater or on a damn good system, because every sound that you hear in the movie is accented, really. I mean, it serves a purpose. There is a deaf character in this movie, and we, the audience, we hear things as she hears things. When she is like the focus of attention, you will notice it by the sound design. The sound design completely changes to that of what a person that is deaf would hear, which is nothing. And then when it focuses on the other family members, you hear everything as it should be. In a horror movie, that really works to our benefit, because there are so many scenes that are just completely consumed with tension. And that is strictly because of the sound design. Like, you could hear a pin drop, and the slightest little thing could, you know, completely freak you out. And it's done so well in this movie. John Krasinski does such a great job directing this film, knowing how to play with sound design, play with cinematography, really just how to scare the audience. He does a damn good job. He's a great horror director. This is one of the best horror movies I've seen in quite a few years, actually. And also, the chemistry in this movie with this family is just so strong. Like, you care about every single one of these characters and they don't even say a word, but their actions sell their chemistry. And when things play out in that crazy last act, because of the chemistry of this family, you are right there with them. You care so much about what's going on with them. You want them to survive, and it's really done so well. I like the pacing of this movie too, because the first half really sets things up. There are some scares here and there. There is a moment where they're playing like a board game, and then, you know, a lamp falls. They have a few moments like these to show the audience how bad it can get if you know, a sound is made. So that way, when the second half of the movie really kicks into high gear, it's just that much more crazy. And it all kicks off really when the wife, played by Emily Blunt, she's giving birth. And she's giving birth at like the worst time, because her husband and the son are away. And so she's having to deal with this nightmare all by herself. And from this moment in the movie, it never lets up. Now, another word on the deaf child in this movie. She plays a pivotal role in the final act, which I do not want to spoil. You know, there's this constant friction between her and her father throughout the movie, because she feels responsible for what happened at the beginning of the movie. And so there's, like I said, there's just this friction constantly between her and her father. And this plot element plays a major part in the last act. Guys, I can't think of any cons for this movie. It's perfectly paced, it's perfectly acted, even though, you know, you have to act with more of your body language than actually, you know, your voice. Really, this movie is a lesson, as far as acting goes, that if you can't talk, then how do you sell the performance? And the performances are so good, especially by John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Hell, the children too, really. I'm giving this Trapped on an Island. It deserves it. I didn't expect it to get that rating, but it was so good, really so good. So now let's talk some spoilers. Really, I just want to talk about the creature, which reminded me of, I guess, partly the Demogorgon from Stranger Things and the creature from Resident Evil. It looks a little bit like both of those, but that last act was so good because the deaf child, she is the one that figures out how to defeat them, and it was sort of by accident. Her father modifies her hearing aid, and because he did this, later in the movie when she has a confrontation with the creature, her hearing aid kind of kicks into high gear and it freaks out the animal. So in the last act, she's able to defeat the animal with that. And I love that. I love that the weakest character in this movie is the one that saves the day. And it just really makes for a beautiful ending. And I gotta say, when her father dies and he tells her that he loves her right before he dies, beautifully done. John Krasinski, what a great job he did on this movie. So good. So anyway, guys, that's my review for A Quiet Place. Post in the comments your thoughts on this movie. Did you like it? Let me know. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do FIFA Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Stardust. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.